All right, and welcome to the Study Abroad session on student accessibility. I hope everyone is enjoying the virtual Study Abroad tour. Just to get started, if there's one take-home point that I would want to emphasize, it's that the Center for International Programs is fully committed to making student mobility and student travel more inclusive and more accessible. A lot of the information that we'll be covering today is available on our website at www.uoguelph.ca/CIP. Now, before we get started, I should mention the elephant in the room, which is COVID-19. So at the moment, as you may know, student travel is on hold, but we are optimistic that when the time comes for student travel to be safe again, we'll be sending students abroad as soon as we can. Obviously, the health and safety of our students is our main priority here at the University of Guelph. So let's get started. My name is Mike. I use the pronouns he and him. I'm the Education Abroad Advisor for Science and Engineering. If ever you want to get in touch, you can always email me and book an appointment. My email address is on the screen at goabroad@uoguelph.ca. I'm supported by a great team here. We have Chen, who is my colleague in the Arts, Social Science, and Commerce. She can also be reached at the Go Abroad account. Jacqueline is our International Education Intern, and she works with our wonderful cast of peer helpers who are all past exchange and study abroad participants. So if you have general inquiries, feel free to email us at cip@uoguelph.ca. As for our agenda today, there are four main aspects that we'll go over. First off, we'll make the case for studying abroad. We'll talk about travel and accessibility, some of the student supports and websites that are available for you to look at, as well as next steps in the application process. So in terms of aspiring to study abroad, for me, it was something that I always wanted to do when I was younger. When I was a university student, I saw one of those posters up on the board promoting an opportunity to travel to Peru, and that opportunity was a game changer for me and allowed me to pursue a career in international development. After that first summer in Peru, I spent a summer in Venezuela, and that led me to one of my first employment opportunities in Namibia. For me, I never had money for study abroad, but what I made up for in being open-minded, flexible, adaptable, and resilient. So if you feel as though you have these characteristics, you're already ahead of the game, and that open-mindedness will definitely help you thrive in a study abroad environment. So in terms of making the case for study abroad, why should students participate in such an opportunity? For one, when you travel, it gives you so much more perspective. It allows you to explore who you are, where you're from, what you want to do with your life. And I think for many students, it allows them to challenge themselves and test out what they're made out of. I know for a lot of our exchange students in particular, they have an opportunity to meet other exchange students from around the world, and that sort of shared interest in travel allows for building these long-lasting friendships. For our field school participants, you're actually traveling with the University of Guelph, a group of University of Guelph students as part of the program. So it's another great social opportunity to travel. As for number three, you have an opportunity to combine academics and travel and take unique courses that bridge cultures. So for example, if you're in Japan, you might want to take a course on Japanese customs and traditions. If you're in New Zealand, maybe you're going to take a course on Maori culture. Or if you're in Sweden, you're going to take a course on Scandinavian views of sustainability. As for the fourth point, I think it's a valuable opportunity to really enhance your intercultural effectiveness. As you know, we live in a very globalized world, and the ability to navigate cultural nuances, whether you're in marketing, whether you're in healthcare, whether you're in government, it's really important to understand different shared cultural similarities and differences as well. So those skills are very transferable, and I know a lot of employers are looking to capitalize on students who have that international experience. Just to give you a brief overview, in terms of semester exchanges, we have partner universities, over 100 of them, in 30 countries around the world. So if you're interested in going to the UK or parts of Europe, there are a number of institutions there. There's also opportunities in countries in Asia like Japan, Malaysia, Singapore, and China. If you're interested in the islands of Fiji, or that idea of exploring New Zealand or studying on a beach in Australia, there's opportunities there as well. In terms of the Global South, we have partners at the University of Ghana and parts of South America as well. So while many students have this notion that study abroad entails a semester exchange, there's other opportunities that I would want to bring to your attention. So for example, we have the field schools. In previous years, we've sent students with University of Guelph professors traveling as a whole group to countries like Mexico, Nepal, Italy, Ghana, and Ecuador. So perhaps a field school is an opportunity that you're interested in. I know for me, I often have the students who've gone abroad to study a language like Spain, in the south of Spain at the University of Malaga, who just talk so passionately about the experience and how much fun they had exploring the country and learning the language as well. For those students who are looking for research opportunities, we have research programs in countries like Germany, France, the United Kingdom, among others, that you can apply to give you that research abroad experience. And lastly, we have a few short-term summer programs. So if you're interested in going away for just a few weeks in the summertime, earning a credit part-time, we have some short-term programs available to you as well. So while this is a session on study abroad and accessibility, here are a few points that you may want to consider. So in terms of social norms and attitudes towards accessibility, these may be perceived differently in various cultural contexts. So for example, physical disabilities or mental health may face varying levels of discrimination in different countries or cultures. Perhaps you want to consider disclosing accommodation needs, addressing unsolicited help, and navigating varying levels of accessibility, whether that's in a new campus or a new community. And lastly, you might want to consider whether you may require special supplies or medications that might not be widely available in your host country. With that said, regardless of any challenge or barrier you may have, we're obviously more than happy and committed to working with you to make your study abroad experience happen. So always feel free to get in touch with us. In terms of choosing a host institution, for many students who require accommodations from the University of Guelph, we would reach out to the host institution and make sure we connect you with the student accessibility office there, so you can know about the supports that are available to you well in advance. Also, in terms of a host institution, we would work with them and with you to make sure that your housing, transportation, or medical concerns are addressed. And lastly, I know for many of our host partner institutions, they will have affinity groups or advocacy organizations on campus that you can connect with. So those are some points that you might want to consider when choosing a host institution. So in terms of student accessibility services, as I mentioned, we would try to connect you with the counterpart office at the host institution, and they would typically just require you to have a letter from your student accessibility services advisor that lists your accommodations, as well as any supporting medical documentations, so they can prepare adequately for your arrival. Typically, when a student goes on exchange, for example, a University of Guelph student would take a full course load and pay University of Guelph tuition to the university on a full-time tuition basis. If, for example, you are a student registered with SAS and you're only taking 1.5 or 2.0 credits, then while you go on exchange, you also have that available option to pay tuition for a 1.5 or 2.0 credit semester. It's a very simple process. We would just ask that the student accessibility service advisor emails us and confirms this over email. So taking a part-time load is definitely an option for you as well. There are a few websites here that I want to bring to your attention. The first is from Mobility International USA. You can see the website here on the screen. They provide extensive information and resources for travelers with visual impairments, autism, chronic health conditions, hearing impairments, mental health conditions, or mobility concerns. And there's also a ton of information on traveling with service dogs that might be of interest to you. And I know from my own experience viewing the website, they have some great global stories from a disability lens, which might be motivating and inspiring and interesting as well for you to explore. So definitely check out myusa.org. All right. A few more websites here that I would want to point out. The Canadian Transportation Agency website provides details about traveling with mobility aids, medical clearance, and service animals. There's also a link here for the Foreign Office, Commonwealth, and Development Office in the UK, which provides information for travelers and travelers' rights that may be of interest to you. And I would also direct you to the Government of Canada website, travel.gc.ca/traveling/health safety/disabilities. On this website, it speaks to planning for a flight, airport security screening, as well as traveling with medication. So lots of great information available to you. As I'll mention here, that a lot of this information we cover in our safety and health pre-departure training that we provide for all students who participate in a study abroad session. So all the students will have access to our course link program called Depart Smart, and here it will cover a lot of the emergency situations that you might have to consider. So the role of the Canadian government, what to do in an emergency, mental health, vaccinations, passports, visas, some general safety tips as well. In terms of finances, I know for a lot of students, they might have this preconceived notion that study abroad is expensive. But when you are going on exchange, you are paying University of Guelph tuition. There's also subsidized programs in our field schools that you can keep an eye out for. And I would also encourage students to simply Google University of Guelph travel grants, and there you'll find a whole list of scholarships available for students through Student Financial Services. There's also scholarships available from your own department as well as external funders as well. For students who might have questions about academics, your program counselor is there to support you along the way and to ensure that the courses you're choosing will be easily transferred back to your degree at Guelph. So I would encourage you, if you're really interested, book an appointment with your program counselor and have that initial conversation about when it might be the best time for you to participate in a study abroad session and have that general conversation about course selection. In terms of the social aspects of study abroad, I think for a lot of students, maybe they have this notion that, they're going to be by themselves, off on a plane, trying to figure everything out on their own. But there's obviously some great opportunities to socialize and to network with our network of previous exchange students. We also offer a very engaging travelers night that allows you to meet with past exchange students as well as incoming exchange students to network and learn about your host institution. So it's a great way to sort of have some of your general questions answered. And lastly, we can always connect you over email to past participants as well. So it's a great way to keep alert about all the different things happening with study abroad. And lastly, just emphasize all that logistical supports, whether it's passports, visas, flights, that's information that we provide to you as well. So in terms of next steps in this process, pretty straightforward. I would direct you to the University of Guelph CIP website. There you'll find a searchable database of all the different programs and host institutions available to you. There's this new amazing Explore website looking at all the different regions. So if you're interested in the UK, if you're interested in Oceania or the Global South or Europe, lots of great information there. So I would encourage you to check out the Explore aspects of our website. When you are looking for a host institution, like I said, you can come to the Study Abroad Program Search and you can filter schools by country, semester, language of instruction, field of study. And a little profile will magically appear where you can check out the semester dates, find the website for the school, look at all the different fields of study that are available to you. It will talk about the credit transfer and just some general information to give you that all the necessary information that you need to make decisions. So in terms of next steps, at this point, just a few dates that you might want to keep in line in terms of the long-term planning. At the end of January, you'll be asked to submit an application ranking your top 5 programs and schools, and then in early March, you'll receive your acceptance. After that, once you've accepted your placement, we'll go over all the mandatory safe travel aspects of your pre-departure. Students who are applying in January are perhaps thinking about summer or the following fall or winter semester, so you want to keep that in mind. And as I mentioned here, getting closer to your placement, that's when you'll apply to the host institution. You'll have another meeting with your program counselor. You'll complete the pre-departure aspects of your training. You'll work on your visa and passport application, and you'll be pretty much set to go. So, just to recap here, if you are interested in study abroad, please email us at cip@uoguelph.ca to get access to our information sessions. From there, you'll be given the opportunity to apply. I should perhaps mention that students with a 70% average is the cutoff. If for some reason you do fall slightly below that, you always have the opportunity to engage or to speak to us about your situation, and we can take that into consideration for sure. All right, so with that said, let me just wrap up and encourage you all to follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, to explore our website. If you do have specific questions about accommodations or accessibility concerns that you might have abroad, please do reach out to us. I know in the previous years, the Center for International Programs has worked with students with hearing impairments or students with visual impairments or mobility concerns, and we've all worked with these students to help them successfully thrive in a study abroad experience. So with that said, I hope everyone has enjoyed the virtual study abroad fair. We look forward to engaging with you online. And again, if you do have questions, feel free to reach out to us. So with that said, I will say thank you very much. Muchos gracias. Domo arigato. Bahat dhanyavad. Obrigado. Dankeschön. Salamat po. Tusen tak. Thank you and good night.